So you guys should have your quiz pulled up on your computer so that you can answer the questions as we go, and you should have a sheet of paper out to write down anything that you might need. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys now. Okay, so question 9 it says an exponential function that is graphed on the grid. Which function is best represented by the graph? And then it gives you a bunch of equations. Hopefully, since you guys are getting pretty comfortable with the graphing calculator, y'all can figure out how to do this one. I'm going to give you 2 minutes starting now. The video on the actual problem gives you step-by-step on how to do this. So if you're struggling with which buttons to press, watch that video. It's only 1 minute long. All right, so hopefully you guys either remembered from yesterday or you used the video that I posted. So the way you solve this problem is you graph those equations into the y equals function of your calculator, and then you see which one looks like the picture in the problem. So we're going to go to our graphing calculator. And we're going to go to, so I have my stuff from yesterday in there, which is fine. I'm going to go to y equals and clear out whatever's in there. And then I'm going to type in my 3 equations. So the first one was 6, and then parentheses 1/3. And then a lot of you guys probably got stuck with how to make x an exponent, because it is a little x in the top right-hand corner. And so the way that you do that is you use the caret button. It's like a little upwards arrow, and it's right under clear, or right above the division sign. Okay, so right under clear, and whenever you click that arrow button, it makes the typing thing small and in the top right hand corner, which is what we want. And then we put x there, and so it should look like an exponent now. Okay, and then the next one was 6 times 3 to the x. Yeah. Okay, so 6 parentheses 3, and then I'm going to do caret x, and so on, and then it was, what is it? 6 minus 1/3 to the x. Is anybody having problems plugging these into the calculator? And then is it plus next? 6 minus 3. Oh, okay, 6 minus 3. So hopefully you guys are actually typing this in so that you can get used to it for the STAAR test. If you just watch me, you're not going to remember when you come to the STAAR test because it's a muscle memory type of thing. Okay. So then I'm going to hit graph. And luckily, my calculator does stuff in different colors, so I can see which one looks like my graph, and that's the blue line. So then I'm going to go to my y equals and figure out which one was blue, and that was the first equation. So my answer is A, or F, or whatever it was. And that is it for number 9. So it can be done in the calculator. Okay, so what is the equation in slope-intercept form of a line that crosses the x-axis at 36 and is perpendicular to the line represented by y equals -4/9 x plus 5? So I want you guys to take your best guess right now because we're not going to go over this one. It's super complicated. One way that you could do it is graph all of those lines and see which one crosses the x-axis at 36 and looks like it's perpendicular. Perpendicular looks like this. I don't remember what the actual answer is to this. I have to look. So take your best guess. Figure out what the answer is. We are not going to spend a lot of time on this one just because this is going to be one of those ones that you guess on the test and then you move on. Let me see how slow my computer is right now. I'm uploading the video from yesterday, so my computer is being super, super slow. All right, so the correct answer was y equals 9/4 x minus 81. So that was J. So if you guessed J, then you got it right. The good news is that, remember, you only have to get like 22 correct to pass. And there's more than 22 of them that are, you can do all in the calculator or from working backwards from the answer. All right, number 11 says a student worked out at a gym continuously for 50 minutes. The graph shows the remaining percentage of the workout as a linear function of x, the time in minutes. Which answer choice best describes the domain and range for the function in this situation? You've got 2 minutes starting now. All right, so let's go over this. So if you guys remember from yesterday, we talked about Dixieroid, okay? That stands for domain input. X value and independent go with the domain. Range is output, Y value, or dependent. Okay, so domain is X, range is Y. When we're describing the domain and range, we're talking about all of the numbers that are included in the graph for the x-axis and for the y-axis. So on the x-axis, it goes from 0 to 50. And on the y-axis, it goes from 0 to 100. Right? It's not just one value. So B and D are not the correct answers. That would only be if you had just like 1 point, that it would be one number for each of those. Since it's a line, it needs to be all real numbers in between the 2 points, okay? So domain is X, so it needs to go to 50, and that answer is C, okay? And remember, it's okay if you're getting them wrong now. The point is that you remember what you did wrong and study it for the test. Number 12 says the graph of a quadratic parent function f was transformed to create the graph of g of x equals f of x plus 2 minus 5. Which graph best represents g? I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to do this one. Remember to take your best guess if you don't know how to do it. Okay, so this next thing needs to be written down. It's something that you can study for the STAAR test. And you also should have written down what I wrote down for the last problem. Okay, so you should have a sheet of paper and a pencil out and have a little study sheet for your STAAR test. Okay, so we're going to go over transformations of a graph. So we've got f x plus h minus k. Okay, so let's look at that. The f you ignore. Remember, f of x, like that means the function of x, okay? So whenever we have a number in front of it, that means it makes it wider or skinnier, okay? Wider or skinnier. H is going to move it left and right. And it's the opposite of what you would think. So plus is left, minus is right. And K is up and down. So whatever number comes after the parentheses moves it up and down. Inside of the parentheses goes left and right. And in front of the parentheses is wider or skinnier, okay? So this graph should move to the left 2 and down 5. Okay, so the answer that looks like that, this one went left 2 and down 5, so it is H. right? So you guys should have this written down so that you can study it before the STAAR test. Let's move on to number 13. All right, so exponent rules. The expression is equivalent to that for all values of m, p, and v where the expression is defined. So which expression is equivalent to? All right, so we want to figure out which one of those fractions is the same as the top one. All right, so go ahead and try this one on your own. You've got 2 minutes. Okay, so the first thing that you should have done whenever you thought of this problem, because it is a difficult problem, but we do know one thing that's easy, and that is 45 divided by 15. It's not subtracting 15, it's being divided by 15, and that equals 3. So we can cross off C and D from the get-go. And now we have a 50-50 chance of getting this answer right, okay? Now for the exponents, that means, like when we have a negative exponent, that means we flip it. If you guys remember Mr. O'Shea's story in your notes videos, so that would be, so now we have 3 over 1. We flip our m's, so that becomes m squared over m to the 6th. Remember, when they flip, they become positive. We have p squared over p to the 8th. And I'm going to move this v to the negative 4th up, so it's going to combine and make v to the 16th. Okay? Just this part right here makes me know that this can be the only answer. I don't even have to do any more of the work. Okay? Because we kind of got to ignore the p's because those were the same in each answer. And if we only had to figure out the v's or the m's. Okay, let's look at number 14. What is a positive solution to this equation? So we are solving quadratics. That's what our last test was over. You guys did really well on it, so that makes me think that you know how to do it. So you've got 2 minutes to try it, starting now. All right, let's go over how to do this problem. Hopefully you did your test this way too. We can use our graphing calculator, but first we have to set our equation equal to 0. So to do that, I have to subtract 135 from both sides. And then my equation is 4x squared plus 12x minus 135 equals 0. And I'm going to plug that into the calculator and look at the graph. So let's scooch over to the calculator. I'm in y equals right now, so I'm going to clear what's in there. And I'm going to plug in my formula. So it was 4. Remember, the x button is next to alpha. Squared is 3 buttons below alpha. Plus 12x minus 135. We don't put equals 0. We hit graph. And we're looking at our 2 answers right here. So the first answer is on the left side. So I can't really. So our first answer is like kind of where my scroller is right now. And our second answer is on the other side. So I'm going to scroll over. Till I get close to it. Scrolling my scroller, and now I'm really close. All right, so I'm about right there. And the number closest to that is 4, but I can also look on my table. So I'm going to hit second, the blue button, graph, and I'm going to find where y equals 0, because when y equals 0, that's the answer. So I'm going to scroll. And it looks like it's going to be in between 4 and 5. That's annoying that it's not a whole answer. Let's see. Okay. So we're gonna have to find the x-intercept. So this is a lot of steps. I put them on your actual quiz. So I'm gonna go through them semi-quickly. You can slow it down on the video on your quiz. Did I do that? Oh. Okay, well, this is how you do it. So we are going to press second trace. So there's like a blue thing that says calc. We're gonna hit second. Trace is next to graph. It's to the left of graph. And then we're finding the zero. That's what, whenever we're solving quadratics, that's finding the zero. So we hit 2 or scroll down to 0. And then we have to do our left bound and right bound. You see at the top, it says left bound question mark. That means we need to hit enter on the left side of the 0. So I'm gonna hit enter right here. And then I'm going to scroll to the right, hit enter, and my answer is 4.5. That is the calculator version of doing that test. So it's 4.5. The mathy way to do that would be to factor. So we would have done the big X. We would have had negative 135 times 4 on top and 12 on the bottom. What's negative 135 times 4? Calculator me, guys. Come on, Darren. Do 135 times 4. 540. So we would be finding factors of 540 that could add to equal 12. So that'd be 1 and 540, 2 and 270, 3 and 180, 4 and 135. And you would just keep going until you found 2 that added to equal 12. Oh my gosh, this problem sucks. Okay, well, you end up getting 4.5. Let's move on. Number 15 says, a grill at a barbecue restaurant will be used to cook sausage links that are 2 pounds each and briskets that are 6 pounds each. No more than 120 pounds of sausage links and briskets will be cooked on the grill. Which inequality represents all possible combinations of X, the number of sausage links that will be cooked on the grill, and Y, the number of briskets that could also be cooked. You got 2 minutes starting now. Alrighty, let's go over this one now. We're on the last 2 problems. Okay, so first thing that you should notice is that it says 2 pounds sausage links that are 2 pounds each. And sausage is X. So we should have a 2 next to our X. So we can go ahead and cross off A and C. Okay. So now it's between B and D, and the difference between B and D is the inequality. So one is eating the 120 and one is eating the sausage and brisket. Okay. So the 120 number is right here. No more than 120 pounds of them. So if it can be no more than 120, which number is bigger? 120 or the number of sausage and briskets? That's what you should ask yourself. Since the sausage and brisket cannot be more than 120, that means they should be less than 120. Therefore, Pac-Man would be eating the 120, and our answer is B. Okay, move on to number 16, last one. This one is combining like terms. You guys should 100% be able to do this on your own. This is from the second lesson that we did this year. So which expression is equivalent to 10 plus 7r minus r squared plus negative 6r squared minus 18 plus 5r. You've got 2 minutes starting now. Alrighty, let's go over this last one. So we combine the ones that have the same exponents. So we've got a negative r squared and a negative 6r squared, and they're being added. That equals negative 7r squared. So I can cross off G and J. So we're done with G and J. Now let's figure out the difference between F and H is this, or we could look at the regular numbers. So whichever ones, I guess we can look at the regular numbers. So we've got 10 plus negative 18. That equals negative 8. So our answer is H. That is combining like terms. If you did not get that one right, you might want to go and watch the video that I posted about combining like terms, because this one should be a gimme, like an easy one. That's probably the easiest problem on the STAAR test. So if you did not know how to do it, I would go take notes on combining like terms and have that on your sheet of paper where we're writing key things to remember for the STAAR test. Y'all should be writing down everything that I'm writing down, especially the Dixieroid thing, and whenever we talked about moving left and right and up and down with graphs. That should be written down. That's super important. Okay. I'm gonna stop recording.